Suhaila, in what does your media product use, develop or challenge forms and conventions of real media products? My music magazine, Desi Beats, follows the basic rules and conducts of a real magazine. Its conventions follow the way real media products are approached. Starting with the front cover. As a group, we had already decided what our theme of music and what audience we were aiming at, so we just had to come up with the name of the magazine. As we were aiming for the British Asian culture, we came up with the name Desi Beats, with Desi meaning Indian or Asian culture and the Beats a normal English musical term. Even more, styling both words differently was a way to show both styles of music being English and Indian mix. Before deciding what the masthead was to be, I looked at different types of magazines to get some idea of what and how a masthead works. Vibe is one of the magazines I looked at. From this magazine, I could see that our masthead had to be big and attention-grabbing, as you need to differ it from the other text and other magazines. Then, as a group, we decided on the skyline, which, like many magazine uses such as Brit Asian, our Skyline was UK's best-selling music magazine. This makes potential readers more interested in the magazine. The next thing to decide was the colour scheme for our magazine. We saw in our case studies that many music magazines use this convention. A colour scheme has 3 or 4 main colours that are used constantly. We as a group originally were going to keep all 3 colours the same, but then realised later on that this didn't work. So we kept 2 colours the same, which was grey and white, and the third was going to be different and matched our music magazines individually. In my case, the colour was brown, as it coordinated well with my photography. I used these constantly throughout my magazine. To make the front cover, we needed an eye-catching image to attract the audience. I did a photo shoot and took various shots of my model and chose a medium close-up as my front cover image, as I believe it worked best because the image is clear and the model is looking straight at the camera, making the reader think she is looking at them. This is called direct address. Making connection with an audience is vital, as we can see this type of image is used in many different magazines, for example, Vibe. The mise-en-scène is used throughout my magazine, as for my front cover the model is wearing a white sari, an Indian dress, to go with the theme of the magazine. Even more, as my model was a white female and she was wearing a white dress, it was obvious that I was not going to use a white background, so I used a black one and used natural lighting so that the dress could stand out. The denotation of this image is just her looking straight at the camera wearing an Asian outfit, while the connotation is her showing a diverse culture by wearing a Asian outfit and being a white female. Shows the audience, gives a sense of culture mix. For the front cover lines and pull quotes are used to tell what the magazine has in store and to persuade the audience to buy the magazine. I wrote mostly on the left third and the right side of the magazine so that I didn't cover up the model's face. The fonts or text size varied so that the front cover looks more appealing, and I saw this method used in many magazines, like for example Vibe. I also used a plug line where I have written inside free CD. This is another way to attract the audience. Furthermore, an anchorage text is used which Hannah Patel knocks Jay Sean off number 1. This shows what the main article is going to be about. Even more, as my edition of the magazine was a Valentine's special, I connoted this by using the colour red in some of the text. This reflects love. Lastly, for the front cover, the price needed to be decided. As a group, we came up with £2.99, as we found most magazines were priced around this range. Moving on to the contents page. As a group, we decided the house style, having 4 columns and 4 images. This idea came up as we studied different music magazines like Q. We saw they use various amount of images on their contents page to make it more engaging. Even more, it makes it more appealing as it shows what will be in the magazine, therefore giving the reader more insight into the magazine. In our contents page, we followed a convention that is always followed in any content page, which includes regular and feature columns. Other conventions I included in my content page were the editor's letter, news section, and contact section. Using this other method made it look more like a contents page. Also, it again gives the reader an insight into the magazine, but from another perspective. For example, the editor's letter is advertising the magazine from the writer's perception. For the double page spread article, I interviewed an artist who appears on my front cover. With my musician, I followed a convention used in a range of music magazines, a Q&A or interview, like this is shown in Vibe magazine. The interview is very useful as it gives the chance for the reader to know the musician on a more personal or deeper level. Also, the answers are the words for the musician themselves, and their responses are more appealing to the consumer. My questions were based on the musician and her current activities. The language used is slightly informal as it's aimed at the more youthful audience. I used 2 images, one being a small one, medium close-up shot, and on the left, and the other being the main shot, which is a long shot, taking up the whole right side of the spread. This technique is This technique is used in quite a few magazines. An example is BritAsian. I also use quote, which is placed next to the main image and it shows what the image really means.
In what ways does your media product use, develop or challenge forms and conventions of real media products? My magazine follows many codes and conventions set out by real media products. With my front cover, the first class was discussed with my group about a masthead. The masthead is the most dominant of text that you will see on any front cover, i.e. any me. Therefore, it must be unique and stand out when people recognize your magazine. It will be displayed on shelves, therefore it will be competing against other magazines and must be very unique. With my master Stacy Beat, it's very different and styled in a way in which we are trying to put across what our magazine is about, which is a mixture of Indian music and modern pop. The word Desi is reference to Indian music, while the word Beats is reference to the pop genre, thus mixing it together. The magazine's house style consisted of grey, white and dark green, which I believed suited well together. The next step was to use a front cover image that would catch the audience's attention. I used a close-up shot because this creates a direct address between the audience and the image. The model's eyes are looking straight at the lenses, thus making the reader think she is looking at them, creating a connection. This has been used in magazines before, such as Vibe. The denotation of the magazine is just her direct address towards the camera, while the connotation is her thinking and the determination in the model's eyes. Music scene is used throughout my magazine as my front cover. The model is wearing a light green Indian dress to go with the theme of the magazine. Also, the image was taken at a photo shoot and I decided to have the lighting darkened in the background using a black cloth. The reason being that this emphasizes more focus on the main magazine, while the model's skin is lightened to bring out the complexion of the model. Furthermore, cover lines and pull quotes are used in the front cover to tell what the magazine has in store and to persuade the audience to buy the magazine. Furthermore, angry text is used, which is the exclusive with Kubra Kesh, which is the focal point of the magazine and the main narrative of the issue. With our contents page, we decided to use 4 images, as in our research we saw that many magazines use various amounts of images on their contents page to make it more appealing. Also, research has shown that people are more attracted to a page with more images than a large amount of text. Also, with many images on the contents page, it shows our magazine has more to offer. In our contents page, we followed a convention that is followed in any contents page, which is to use a regular and a featured column. My conventions included a contents page with the editor's letter, a reviews column. This letter gives the reader a chance to hear from the editor, while the review section is used numerously in magazines and newspaper articles. Also, while researching many music magazines, I saw that many give the availability for the readers to subscribe to the magazine for a one-off price. This gives the reader more and is a self-promotion for the magazine itself. Therefore, I incorporated this into my contents page and uses the modest price of $1.99. For my double page spread with my musician, I followed a convention used in many magazines, which is a Q&A. The Q&A is very useful as it gives the readers an insight to the star musician and a more in-depth analysis. Also, the answers are from the musician and their responses are more useful. The positive thing about the Q&A is that the answers can range from the past, present and future, and the readers would want to buy the magazine to hear the responses of the musician. I also used 2 quotes, one placed in the center of the interview which defines the interview, and another on the right hand page next to the image of the musician, thus creating a powerful imagery and a quote. Also, color coordination is used to brighten up the page, and brief summary of who Kubra Kesh is makes the double page more professional.
Music magazines such as Vibe and Blender, I was able to denote that one of the main conventions of a music magazine was to have an image that sends off a powerful message and creates the whole tone for your magazine. Therefore, the image that I have chosen to use for my front cover is an extreme close-up of an Indian model, which is effective as it denotes to the audience that the magazine will specifically be based around him. Furthermore, due to the direct approach of the image, the audience can connote that the model is connecting with them, therefore making the magazine seem more personal towards them. Furthermore, I have also used specific mise-en-scene techniques that adds to the overall message of the image. For example, I have dressed my model in an urban trend style. By doing this, I have denoted to the audience that the magazine will be based around a mixture of cultures such as British and Asian, which connotes to them that my magazine will have something unique that is specific to them. Another convention that I found in various magazines, such as Vibe and Blender, was that they all followed a 3-color scheme. Therefore, as a group, we incorporated this into our magazine. However, as we wanted to ensure that our magazine still carried a unique look, as a group we kept 2 colors the same, which were white and grey, and changed the last color, coordinating it with other background images. Therefore, for my magazine, the last color I used was brown. I believe that this was effective as it denoted to the audience that each of our magazine was a different issue, but also correlates to a high professionalism of our magazine. Finally, another convention that I have followed on my front cover is the use of cover lines and the way they are laid out on the page. Looking at my magazine, we can see that I have verified the front size of the cover lines, which is similar to magazines that I have looked, such as Asia. I believe that this works well as it highlights the main stories that will feature in the magazine and also give the audience something to visually entertain them. Finally, on my front page, I have also included features such as barcodes and magazine dates and issues, which is another typical convention of a magazine. For my contents page, I have used conventions that other magazines such as Vibe have used. For example, my contents page has been divided into sections: regulars, features and editor letters, which is useful as it allows the audience to easily navigate through the magazine, prioritizing the stories that they wish to read. Furthermore, the editor's letter is effective as it allows the audience to hear from the editor themselves and give them a preview of some of the stuff that will appear in the particular issue. From research, I have found that the most music magazines such as NME and Vibe use a various amount of images on their contents page. Therefore, I've also followed this convention. As you can see on my contents page, I have used 4 different images. This is effective as it gives the audience some visual content and also allows them to be entertained as well as informed about what will appear. Again, formal lexis has been used on this page to emphasize the seriousness of the magazine. Moving on to the DPS, again analysing Vibe and Blender, I can connote that one of the main conventions is to have a question-answer interview style layout. Therefore, this is what I have followed in my magazine. This is effective as it lays out the text in a way which the audience can follow easily. Throughout the DPS, I have used low and medium lexis language in order to ensure that the magazine is easy to understand by the specific target audience. Furthermore, it also adds to the professionalism of the whole magazine and makes the audience take it seriously. On the right hand side of the page, I have used a medium long shot image of my model. By doing this, I have shown my model in more detail and allowed the audience to have some visual context to go along with the interview. Furthermore, the mise-en-scene of the magazine and the image reinforces that the idea that the magazine is a mixture of cultures, as an Indian model is wearing clothes that follow an urban trend. I have also used the tagline alongside of the image. This is useful as it will give the audience some insight to what the star will talk about in the magazine and emphasizes what kind of person he is.
How does your media product represent a particular social group? Our magazine target social group would be young British Asians, presumably from 16 to 28. However, regarding ethnicity, it would be Asians as well as English people who both have an interest for Indian and pop music. Never before have these two been combined into one music magazine until Desi Beats. This gives our magazine another dimension, therefore we are confident that our magazine would be appealing to both cultures. The reason why we say young Asians is due to the fact that artists and the articles used in our magazine are aimed at the younger generation, and therefore they would be more interested and would be our target demographic age range. With gender, our magazine wants to appeal to both sexes as this would mean more sales. However, our magazine would appeal more towards the female as our colourful text and imagery and the Indian clothing worn by many musicians in our magazine front covers would be more suited towards them.